자리 뺏길까봐 무서워서 그래.
Hey everyone, Tyler here at The Movie Beat. Welcome back to another Korean movie review. Got a brand new one here. A new thriller, of course, Korea thriller mystery film called Diva, starring Shin Min-a, directed by Jo Soo-ae. I think this one is going to be compared to the film Black Swan a lot because it is very, very, very similar. Like Black Swan, it does use a lot of minor horror elements to underscore that dark and ugly psychological unraveling of its lead character in an effort to really contrast it with that otherwise beautiful and graceful appearance of competitive sport diving. So, let's get into the story a little bit. Heralded as the diving diva, Yoo-young, played by Shin Min-a, is at the top of her game in the world of diving as she wins gold in competition after competition. Her childhood friend and diving teammate, Sujin, played by Yoo-young, has also consistently performed well in competitions, but feels to be forever in Yoo-young's shadow. One day, Yoo-young suggests her and Sujin try diving as doubles as a way to both eventually stand on the podium together in top rank. But one night while driving home together after practice, the two of them plunge from a cliffside into the sea after losing control of their vehicle. When Yoo-young awakens in her hospital bed, detectives question her about the accident as well as the whereabouts of Sujin, who has been declared missing. After claiming to have no memory of the night in question, Yoo-young works to get back into top diving form, but when horrific visions begin to flash before her eyes, Yoo-young's once graceful dives suddenly take the form of frightening death drops and the battle between her inner demons begin. So I think this film Diva does toy with a lot of very interesting conceptual ideas surrounding the whole tragic dive that the lead character Yoo-young takes, because not only is she this celebrated athlete in the upper rung of society because, you know, she's got all these advertisement deals, she's got a lot of fans, she's looked up to her by her teammates, just at the top of her game. The actual sport that she's in of high diving really quite literally puts her above everyone else as she takes this visually dramatic leap from that tall platform that has her plunge literally into the depths of the pool waters. So that whole beautiful display of athleticism that we're all cheering on is just in our nature as humans, but also as if looking through this kind of twisted reflection through the surface of the water, and I think they kind of show that in the poster of this film. This dive can also be seen as sort of that tragic fall from grace that we as the spectator also mysteriously find attractive and interesting to watch. And I think that can be seen in a lot of celebrity culture when somebody is deemed to have done something bad or reprehensible, that crashing down that they have, that's in all of the news stories, just people eat that stuff up. So that other side of this, I think, is very interestingly put together in the whole diving concept. So while I think these interesting concepts help drive this movie Diva forward visually and intellectually, I think that whole execution falls pretty short of the ambition when it comes to the entertainment factor as a film. And especially as a thriller movie, because there's a few suspenseful moments in this movie, like when Yoo-young is standing on the edge of the platform. If you guys have seen diving, you know, they've got half of their feet dangling off, and she's working through the courage or working through her real kind of cruel inner voice of doubt and uncertainty that hold her back in some pretty horrific visions. Those moments I think were pretty well done, but it starts to become repeated and ends up feeling kind of like a one-trick pony for a thriller movie because you can only really do that so many times. Also, I think towards the third act of Diva, the movie does kind of try to move into more horror-esque territory, but a lot of the scary images that it uses are really kind of reused moments from earlier in the film when Yoo-young has sort of these hallucinations. So I do think it does lose a lot of the desired climactic effects that it's supposed to have. So a bit of a letdown there. But when it comes to the actors in this film, oh my god, Shin Min-a not looking a day older than her iconic role in A Bittersweet Life. We all know her as the woman in that movie that really sort of set that whole snowball in motion But that was almost 15 years ago, and she's ageless, she's beautiful, and she's looking better every day. I just can't believe it. I do think she does sort of do a fair job at portraying the diving diva, but I think there's some either limitations within the script or whether it was directing decisions. I do feel like Shin does not really go full Black Swan mode in this one. Her emotional range seems to be pretty tightly controlled. So we don't really get that satisfying full evolution that, we might expect if we were comparing this to something like a Black Swan. That alter ego just doesn't seem to manifest in its entirety. For example, like in Black Swan, when Natalie Portman, she's kind of in that metamorphosis stage, she's scratching her skin, it itches, and then later in the movie, like a little barb will protrude from her skin. That really helped symbolize that dark evolution that she has in the film. And this one, Shin Min-a's character, Yoo-young, she's limited to like this single cut on her forehead, this little gash that, she was in a car accident, but it keeps mysteriously kind of reopening while she's sleeping. And I think that is helping to show that bright exterior kind of being faded, being pushed aside by a more dark inner demon that's coming forth, but it's really limited to just that. And by the end of Diva, it's still at just that cut. Really kind of missed an opportunity to evolve in that way. So it was a bit of a letdown for me. As far as the other actors go in this film, I do feel like the diving coach, played by Lee Kyu-hyung, was a little bit stiff, kind of odd. I think it was just like he just wasn't there for me. The other actors, the other supporting characters in this film, really strong performances. However, they felt a bit one-dimensional. And while that one-dimensionality really works for the character of Sujin, Yoo-young's best friend who goes missing after the accident, it does help to create a lot more mystery surrounding her character. And I do feel like that actor, played by Yoo-young, I believe. Yes, Yoo-young. It created a lot of what I felt the film's strengths were when it comes to the mystery department. She was really mysterious in the way she was acting, and I think the way that her character was written, so I really liked that. But with that one-dimensionality, it was really hard to invest in any of these characters and to really care about how things were unfolding, because it gets kind of crazy, and I at least felt like, okay, I just wasn't into it. And I think that, a deeper insight into some of the more supporting characters would have helped me to care about the world a little bit more that they establish. And I found myself thinking a lot about the title of this film after watching it, Diva. Obviously, it's one letter different than just dive, but I was trying to think like why they chose this title specifically, and there's a few things that I thought of as to possibilities, but I don't think they really really drove it home and why they chose this title. Because this movie does seem to be saying something about competition and jealousy, or even the lengths that one will go to stay at the top, and how their actions, both consciously and unconsciously, I think very importantly, sort of showing how maybe that role of a diva could affect the psyche of a person, to really do everything that they can to ensure that their position at the top endures. But I don't think they really address that diva concept much farther than that as this sort of valued position of fame within a talent hierarchy. So, I don't know if I'm looking too much into it, but I sort of wanted more of that diva concept to be stamped onto this film to make it a little bit more unique. But it's just kind of became more of a clever title that the film does kind of brush on those topics, but not really get into so specifically. Ultimately, I think this movie does have some pretty nice photography and other visually pleasing aspects of the movie, but I think this movie does spend a lot of time trying to stretch out a story that may have worked better as a short film in the end. So a lot of the curiosity or the more interesting, inherent energy that the story brings does begin to diminish rather quickly without introducing a lot of new elements. So for that, I'm going to have to rate Diva a 6 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of this movie. It's really awesome to see actress Shin Min-a back in a film. She's done some TV and everything, but also just, yeah, ageless. That was weird. Thanks for watching as always. Hope you guys get to see this one soon. I'm Tyler at The Movie Beat. Until next time, keep watching movies.